At SEMO Electric Cooperative, we have a long history of effectively balancing good environmental practices and keeping electric rates low. Please take a few minutes to hear how the EPA is threatening your power supply. At the conclusion of this program, take action. Visit the internet and go to www.action.coop to make your voice heard. Reliable and affordable electricity, that's the cooperative difference.
Planet Earth, one of the greatest blessings we've been given. Our land provides the food we eat, the water we drink, the very air we breathe. Maybe more than any others, cooperative members know the importance of taking care of our Earth because many of us live off that land. But times have changed since cooperatives first started lighting up the countryside. Our population has grown, cities thrived, industry and technology flourished. And everything we do impacts our land. From the number of cars on the streets, to the amount of trees we cut down, even how much electricity we use. Today, however, that cooperative way of life is being threatened. The government, activists, and lobbyists are trying to legislate how cooperatives provide power to our members. They think they know what's best for cooperatives, but the things they have in mind, well, let's just say they come at a cost, a very expensive cost to cooperative members. To understand the struggle co-ops are facing, you first need to understand the power mix we buy from Associated Electric.
We always dispatch the lowest cost units first. So last year, for example, our coal units are still our lowest cost unit, and that's why 75% of our energy last year was from coal. About 15% was from natural gas. In addition to the coal and gas, which are fossil fuels, we have some wonderful renewables on our system as well.
Last year we got 5% of our electricity from hydropower, and it's a great source for helping us keep our rates low.
We also have wind projects.
Across America, 42 million people in 47 states get their power from co-ops. And 70% of that co-op power comes from coal. And there's a good reason for that.
We have right now about 240 years of coal under the earth.
Our country has relied on coal-fired generation for many, many years. Over the years, we've advanced the generation technology as well as the air emission technology to bring these plants along so that they're very efficient.
Missouri rates are some of the lowest in the United States because we have a clean coal fleet that's very efficient.
So, coal is cheap, and we have plenty of it here in America. So what's the problem? Well, here's where our story gets a little complicated. As much as we think coal is a good thing, there are those out there who disagree. And it all comes down to this: climate change, what some call global warming. The theory that the temperature of our planet is warming, changing our weather patterns, and even increasing the number of natural disasters. So, who are the players in the environmental game? First, you have the President of the United States. Second, there's the Congress, both on the state and national levels, who can introduce their own environmental bills. Third, there's the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA. They've got 17,000 employees whose job it is to protect the earth, air, land, and water. Now, they may all mean well, but in an attempt to protect the environment at any expense, their pending regulations may actually hurt the people who live in that environment. And by hurt, I mean hurt their wallets.
The dilemma we have as electric cooperatives today is 80% of our electricity comes from clean coal plants. Now, why is that? That's the case because in the 80s, electric cooperatives were growing rapidly. We needed new generation. Natural gas wasn't available because the federal government said you can't generate electricity with natural gas. Nuclear was not available at the time because there was a moratorium on nuclear energy.
Soon after Washington dictated the cooperative's huge investment in coal, along came hundreds of pages of new regulations and stricter standards dealing with fossil fuel generation. Some of these environmental laws and regulations made sense, others were politically motivated, but all of them came at a big cost to the cooperative world. Big.
We spent $1.1 billion since 1990 to convert our plants to use low sulfur coal and also to build pollution control or emissions control equipment to reduce nitrogen oxides. We've also had to add staff at the plant. We monitor every emission that comes into the plant and every emission that goes out of the plant every second of every day, and that includes the air and the water. And if you look at those as a whole, the pollution control equipment and the staff that we've added, we spend $61 million a year to monitor and to comply with those regulations.
I really think that electric utilities should be getting a medal from the federal administration. Instead, we're getting beat up and accused of not doing enough. But if you look at the actual numbers, since 2007, the electric utilities in the United States has reduced its carbon dioxide emissions by 8%. China is increasing by 7% a year. They're emitting twice as much carbon dioxide as the United States today. By 2020, they'll be emitting almost 4 times as much carbon dioxide as the United States. They build a coal plant every week.
So even though the Environmental Protection Agency agrees that the air is cleaner today than it has been in decades, new regulations just keep on coming. On June 25, 2013, President Obama held a special press conference to announce his sweeping new climate change agenda.
I'm directing the Environmental Protection Agency to put an end to the limitless dumping of carbon pollution from our power plants and complete new pollution standards for both new and existing power plants.
Using executive power and completely bypassing Congress, the President launched a personal war on coal.
The President has called for an all-of-the-above energy strategy, but in fact it's really just an all-but-one energy strategy because the policies that have been proposed eliminate the ability to ever generate electricity with coal.
It means that those plants that they've paid for over the years won't be used anymore. They'll be stranded investment that you've made.
And nobody's ever asked, well, who's going to pay for all this? And people say, well, the government's going to pay for this. The government is you. It's the people. It's the taxes that we all pay. And this is very problematic, particularly in areas who haven't recovered from the recession, where we still see high unemployment. We're talking about money out of your pocket for government to pay for new government regulations. Are you willing to pay 25%, 50%, 100% more than you currently do today to comply with government regulation? Bottom line.
So the government is out to get coal. Why don't we just stop burning coal? Switch to renewable energy sources. Change is good, right?
What utilities need is a balanced, diverse set of generating resources that can work together. And by removing coal, we're moving one, it's most affordable, and two, most consistent and reliable resource. So as you remove that out of your system and you make decisions to rely on other generation, you take on more risk and you take on more cost.
We can't always depend on renewables because the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow and the rivers don't always flow, and that's where coal comes in.
If you were going to retire, you wouldn't put your entire retirement future into any one company. You would diversify. And it's the same thing when we're planning a power supply for our kids and our grandchildren. We want to make sure that we've got a diverse supply of resources so that if we don't predict the future correctly, we have all these different resources to fall back on.
And coal won't be the only thing affected by carbon regulations. Remember when we said that 15% of our electricity comes from natural gas?
CO2 emissions don't just come from coal. The natural gas generation also produces carbon dioxide emissions.
The Sierra Club has already said they're beyond a Beyond Coal campaign and they're focused on a Beyond Gas campaign. And their mission is to eliminate natural gas-based generation. So what are we going to do for an energy supply in this country? Are we going to tell everybody, you can cruise the internet when the sun is shining or when the wind is blowing, but please don't do any dishwashing or clothes washing at night when that isn't happening?
So where do cooperatives stand? More than anything, we believe there needs to be a balance. We've been proactively doing what's right for our planet for years, while keeping our rates affordable for our members.
If you back up and you really look at it, it is a bullseye on about 8 or 9 states here in the Midwest where the energy bills are at such a reduced cost.
If this plan goes into place and raises electric rates to the point that we fear, it could change your life. It could force businesses to close.
What's going to happen to our primary industry in this country? It's going to go overseas. When they see their rates going up 20%, 40%, they'll find better places to make steel and to make aluminum and to have jobs.
Every place is different and we have to honor regional differences, but we also have to understand that people can only afford so much. We have to be able to weigh and balance efficiency and conservation and the use of renewables with affordability.
So, it all comes down to this. Decisions are being made right now in Washington, D.C. that will dramatically affect all of us. Decisions that affect whether you can take a family vacation, whether we can save for retirement, and even whether we can put dinner on the table. So what are you going to do? You're busy, you got carpool, and 2 jobs, and your to-do list around the house is a mile long, and you're just one person. Here's where you're wrong. When all the co-op members come together, our voices are strong and loud. And you've got all the tools you need: a phone, a pen and paper, Twitter, Facebook, and most importantly, a voice. You have a voice.
We want to use the Congress to help us get our message across that you can't go very far on this without impacting not only the American economy, but the American people.
When you come together, if you engage and you make your voice heard, it will make a difference. I've seen it happen time and time again. And that really is the strength of the electric cooperatives.
Today, we're taking a stand to ensure cooperative members keep the reliable electricity we fought for at a price all of us can afford. The co-op needs you now more than ever before. We need your voice to protect our wallets, to protect our way of life, and to protect our future.